Hi everybody. Well, I think it's been maybe 5-6 days since I last did a little video on what's going on, but in those 5-6 days it's gone absolutely crazy. I don't know where to start, but what I've been doing is moving nukes that were ready to transfer into hives, but they were so strong and the weather went perfect and they're all filling out. I had to go in and do more splits from them just to calm them down, because what I don't like to do is move bees around and then put them straight into hives the following day. So I had to take a couple more frames out because they were just filling everything up with honey. I can't tell you how strong this nectar flow is today. It's like you have splits. I put them in to 6 frames with 2 partitions, and even though they're queenless and they start drawing up cells, I've had to take out the 2 partitions and then leave 2 extra frames of foundation. But in 2 days they filled out those frames of foundation and then they're full of honey again. It's like unbelievable. They're drawing up everything you put on. It's an absolute game really, trying to give everything enough space. So I'll just show you here. I'll spin the camera around. You can see all the boxes I've done. Let's go around to all the to where the mini nukes are. You can see I've harvested an awful lot of queens from the mini nukes. If you look about there, for example, just there you'll see some hives that were so strong I've had to put them with hives underneath. So what I did the other day was I was coming out harvesting queens and putting one box on top of another with newspaper between them to allow them to join, because obviously where I'd harvested the queen, they'd become queenless. Not initially, they hadn't even got to that state yet, but you put a piece of newspaper between them with some syrup on, and then as they eat the newspaper and the syrup and they chew up the newspaper and spit it out the door, they become one and they don't realize anything is different. They just join as one colony. So all those colonies there's some really big ones. You see they're getting really tall, and the ones at the end are still waiting for me to be harvested, and they're strong. There's I think about 9 there that I haven't harvested from yet, and I'm going to harvest those after. But I've also got some more here waiting there for me to harvest, and they're all growing really huge as well, and they're all leaning the wrong way. But it's all complete chaos. I'd never even imagined that the weather would go so good. You can see our hawthorn is now in flower. You see behind the truck there, that's the start of our hawthorn. It's just coming into flower now, which means, as I said before, it's the marker, which means we've got about 2 weeks of flow left at the maximum. And you can see behind me all these mini nukes I've transferred back in. Where have they gone? There's a big wall of them. There they are. Those are the mini nukes that not all of them, there's still some more. I've been using them to put back underneath the mini plus, because they're so strong. As I'm taking nukes to yards and transferring them into hives that had my winter losses in last year, I'm bringing them back and putting them under mini plus so I can then let the bees grow down. So 2 things I'm doing. One is I'm harvesting queens. The other thing is I'm saving some to grow into nukes, because it saves making a nuke and you allow the bees to do it. And when there's a flow on that's so strong and you haven't got time to harvest all your queens, you do other things. So the 2 things I'm doing, just to say that again, I'm harvesting queens and I'm putting 1 mini plus on top of another. But the other method is to put a box underneath, as you can see there, and it means I get extra growth into that box directly from the top going down. So that's what I'm doing this week. I did a little video during the week when I was actually harvesting queens and then putting them on top of other hives, so you can probably see what I do. You probably work it out. It's a bit complicated and you do what you can. I was also going around checking nukes and transferring into full 10-frame hives. I've been filling up within 3 days because all the brood in the nukes has been hatching out, and then I have to put a super on top because the foraging bees go out and start foraging in the areas where there's so much nectar and pollen. They don't have to go more than 500 meters, and they're just filling up those hives. So you've got to keep on top of them, otherwise you'll stall, and you don't want to stop that queen. It's not even stopping her from swarming, it's stopping her from laying, because I wanted to keep laying to keep up the number of bees. And if you clog up that brood nest, you really will have problems, because later on when we've got our second flow starting, we need those nurse bees, because I want to make splits again. All those boxes there now are going to be refilled or cleaned first, bleached, cleaned, scraped out, dried, washed, whatever you want to call it, and then filled back up with some frames, brand new frames, and some partitions. And we're going to see how it goes, because there's just so much to do, you know. It's just enormous. I've never known a season, I say this every year, but I really have never known a season where it's gone from the sublime to the ridiculous. 1 minute we're like sitting around twiddling our thumbs, moaning about when the weather's going to get better. It's rained all winter right till the end of March, and suddenly come April, bang, it's gone immediately into gorgeous weather, and everything has bloomed. Everything is in full flower. The oilseed rape is in full flower. If I flip this around, this is what you can see. You'll probably see that field right over there, right at kind of there in the distance. You see that? There's a yellow there. That's what we like. Wherever you are, you're no more than 500 meters from oilseed rape here. So it's absolutely amazing. I mean, the prolificness of the bees is unreal. I've got in the day, I've got beards hanging out the hives, which is a good indication of what's strong. And what is good is where they finished, where this is on top of the hive, for example, and they finish their pollen sub, there's obviously a hole, and it enables the bees, if they're too strong, to build into here. And as much as that's a pain in the backside, it does give you a bit of leeway and does allow you to have a bit of time before you have to do something before they swarm. So I know I've got to get the rest of those mini plus sorted out. I know I'm probably going to lose a couple. I had a swarm that left the house today. I don't know where it was from. My daughter was at home and I was out, and she said, "Dad, there's a massive swarm just flown over the house." I was like, okay, great, where did it go? So we went and had a look in the field. It's gone down into the valley. We'll never find that again. But I'm just showing you how crazy it is. I mean, I check everything. I'm even putting hives into double brood boxes. Look there, you can see double brood, which I never do here, just to give them space, because that's a really good breeder queen. The one next door is a really good breeder queen. The one over here is a breeder queen. That was a small one over winter, but the one over there is a breeder queen. They're all, I'm just desperate to keep on top of everything and giving everything space, because I know that in 2 weeks, the curtain will come down and the flow will stop. But that's when we're really going to be starting our queen rearing, because we can control everything then, you know, so it's great. But anyway, I'll show you this video now. It's a bit mishmash, but you'll get the idea of what we're doing, harvesting queens and using the boxes to make the other colonies strong without wasting the resources. They just keep on growing. And as I said, in about 3 weeks time, well, 2 weeks time, we have our first queens ready. All those get broken down again, all those towers come down, and then we make mini plus up. The other problem we're facing this year is we've got no wax. We are desperate for wax because the place we usually supply has been closed because of the coronavirus, and we've got 250 kilos of wax to take to be melted down, but we are going next week to drop it off, and they will get back to us with the shipment of wax when it's completed and ready for us to collect. So our foundation, we're basically going to exchange it, and we're going to get back our own wax, which is brilliant. So the other thing is, our mini plus frames, the wax I've just mentioned, that includes that as well. It's the whole thing. It's all on a knife edge. I've got just enough frames, the foundation that I did the other week. You saw me putting these together. That's what I've got to cover me for the moment. But I've got no more than about 250 frames spare. So I'm thinking, if I don't get that soon for my summer splits, I'm up shit creek with a very broken paddle. So we're gonna have to look at using supers or anything we can. But it's just been amazing, you know, just juggling everything and trying to keep it all together. But it's all good fun. We're getting there. I've surprised myself at how well everything's going and how well I've caught up with my winter losses so far. I've put all my nukes, well, a lot of the nukes that were ready to go have gone into the field, have gone into apiaries brilliantly. And I've got a load more to go in, so I should be up to my numbers by end of May, which I'm really pleased about. So, and I should have some spring honey, which is just amazing, because those hives I mentioned before were so strong, I've had to put supers straight on them. So you never know, we might get a super off each one. We've got 2 weeks to fill it, and they're full of bees. So let's see how it goes. Anyway, hope you enjoy this video. But this is what I'm doing. I'm going around. It's like carnage here. I'm basically harvesting queens, taking one box from the next, putting it on top of another one, reusing those resources. So for example, this one, these two were the same colony that I harvested a queen from. This colony was already queen right, it had a queen in before. So this one was queenless. That went on with newspaper between the two. They're now going to unite, and on top of that I put another one with newspaper between it. You see? And these bees will stay there for maybe a day. It's warm tonight, it doesn't matter. There's plenty of food, so much nectar around, and they'll all gradually connect to be one, and then they'll all use that front entrance. And then I have to be careful because they get so strong that this is a problem. We've got queens we're going to be making in 2 weeks, and hopefully we can hold all these together until our first queens emerge. It's just a question of adding boxes. Now, it might get 9 or 10 high, but there's so much nectar coming through, but I need these queens to go in my nucleus colonies that I'm making, because I need to get my numbers up on my hives for honey in the summer. It's all a juggling act. These ones have got to be done yet, you see. You can see how strong these are, look. Bees out the front. Nice to see that, but it means they've got to be worked. It means they've got to be sorted out pronto, otherwise they're going to swarm. You know, you just move from one disaster to the next. Crisis management, and that's what it's going to be like probably for the next 3 or 4 weeks at least. It's going to be really, really busy. So I'm going to show you the processes by which I introduce a queen from my mini mating nukes to this hive here. But the problem is, because everything is so prolific at the moment, and because there's so much nectar coming in, and because this hive is already nearly full, because I made a really strong split, I'm actually going to do it with a hive. Now, this mini plus on the right is queen right. The box, the nuke on the left, is not queen right. That was a split I made 3 days ago. So there's queen cells in it. I've gone through, cut most of them out already, and I just thought I'd try it this way to show you what it's like, to show you how to do it. But I'm going to use a hive instead. This hive here. Okay, you can't see the camera, but I'll show you when I get closer. But I'm going to use an attachment for it. Very simple thing to do. So this will go on top of the hive like that. The nuke goes on top there. And then I put lots of syrup on top of the newspaper with a couple of holes in. In a couple of days, the bees unite, because the top is queen right, the bottom isn't. Suddenly, you've got a big exploding colony that needs plenty of room, that's got plenty of room, and the top becomes queen right. And when I'm ready to harvest these, I can. If I want to take this hive away, I can. I can shake all the bees through and put them in the bottom, and I can shake more bees through, and this then becomes a fantastic hive to gather honey from, or to make drones with, or anything I want. It's a way of processing 2 different hives when you've got them. So I'll go through the process, show you what we do, and it's something you can do if you really are in a flow. The problem is if I just stick this nuke on top of that nuke to make this queen right, it's fine, but in a flow it ain't going to last long. So there's 4 frames of bees and brood already, and there's only 2 spare, and they're going to fill it in 2 days, so it's pointless. So I'm going to go through and do that now, and then give them more space than what they need. I've just been in here actually and just looked at it, and because it's so full of bees, I'm going to take this all away, use those resources somewhere else. This nuke goes on the floor for the moment. It's damn heavy. This hive will go in its place. So this hive had some old frames in already that I put in ready for this transfer, this exact thing. So this goes into place here. First thing, check the door is open, okay? We'll take out some partitions, and I'm going to just give them full space. We've got 24 degrees tomorrow, and even after that it's going to stay warm. So let's get rid of these partitions, we don't need these. Chuck them over there. Put this to one side, give them space. They're going to fill this up in no time. Like everything else, I've got no time at the moment. This is full. This is just a split I did the other day. It's absolutely full of bees. Let's transfer this over. I gave this a space 20 minutes ago, then I realised I'm just going to do it like this because it's just a lot less hassle. So this was one of the frames from the existing colony, and I'm just going to check for queen cells because there was some queen cells on the other frame. There's none on this one. I don't want a queen cell to hatch out after you can see how full of honey this is, and there's just a little patch of brood there. There's no room, so this is why I made this split on my hives. Nice bees, no queen cells. That's going in there. This is, at the moment, this is just a normal transfer. So I gave it 2 frames. Look at them on that wax, pulling that wax up already. Just about to start drawing that. That'll be drawn out mostly by tonight. So that goes back in here where it was. I've got plenty of ventilation because I've got ventilated bases on these hives. The Nico bases. Check for queen cells. None on this frame. I destroyed them before. There was one I missed, look. There it is. So they're on day 5 now, 6, so... Sorry, these larvae about day 5, day 6, so there's basically, after today, there's no way they can make any more because they'll be technically hopelessly queenless. So there'll be no larvae left in this colony that they can make a queen cell from that are the right age. They'll all be too old. So what I'm doing, in essence, is a basic transfer first. So I destroyed a queen cell here, and this is the classic place where they love to build queen cells. It's right in this corner here. Whenever you're checking your colonies, always check in these little bits where the frame meets the brood. They love to build queen cells there. They're little sneaky cells that are often nice size as well, but there's some cups with the larvae in. There's another one, I've got to be careful there. Destroy that. Nothing on the other side. Let's have a look. Let's shake these bees off. I've got no queen to damage, so that is a nurse bee. There's another one there. This is what you get this time of year. Hundreds and hundreds of nurse, thousands of nurse bees. And they are going to be wax builders in about 5-6 days. Maybe a little bit longer, but they're all, what I'm trying to say is there's lots of young bees now taking over the colony. So this goes into here. Check for queen cells. It's a bit like making up a cell builder. You can't have a queen cell in a cell builder. But this is another reason. I just don't want this nice queen that I grew last year to have to confront a virgin, because often the virgin will win. When this queen comes out through the newspaper and goes down the bottom to start laying, which she will eventually do, I don't want her to have to find a queen cell that's about to hatch with a virgin in that's very aggressive, because they often are. So that's done. One more frame to go in there. That was the frame I put in about half an hour ago. Already starting to draw it out. So there's a box of bees. Perfect. Okay. Make sure these frames are realigned. Inside, there's no queen in here, just a lot of bees. So what you do that. Okay. The bees know where they are. They know they're going to fly back to there. You see, all straight back, not a problem. Don't mess around, waste your time. You can put it here, like that, if you've got time, and then smoke it. But to be honest, you know, you haven't got time to mess around in the summer. So that is in, that's done. On goes this, okay? That is the square that will be the partition initially between the nuke I've just transferred and the bees I'm going to give them, okay? So, let's get some newspaper out, like that. Make a couple of holes in it. Not many, just a couple. That's all you need to do. Got our nuke in here. It's full of bees. That's filling up really well. Let's brought the camera in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm going to do next, because I want to show you I'm going to give this some syrup. So there's the hive now. There was the transfer, okay? A straightforward transfer from that nuke with the newspaper on top. What I do next, get some syrup, nice thick invert, tip it on. This keeps the newspaper moist and gets the bees all thinking about it. It doesn't matter if it drips through, because it'll just go straight through the hive, and you might create robbers if you add too much, but get a little bit dripping down, then the bees will start lapping that up, and see that newspaper's getting all soggy now. It's exactly what I want. So on goes the bees with the queen in. Got a nice little colony here. That goes on top there. We can just trim this off if we want, get rid of that. There you go. That is a queen right colony. This will soon be queen right. So this technically is hopelessly queenless because I've just cut all the queen cells out. This one is a nuke that I made overwintered last year. So now I have a queen in there. She will unite into here, and then that becomes a queen right colony. The whole thing becomes the same colony very quickly. You'll notice here we've got a few spots of shit on the front. We've had hot, very, very hot and very, very cold weather. And when you get extremes, you often see the bees pooping. It doesn't mean they've got nosema, they haven't. The inside of the colony is perfect. Just something to note before someone tells me that. It's not nosema. I've got it on a few of my others because there's so much turnover, so much processing, so much feeding of pollen, so much digestion of food. The bees have to poop regularly. And if they're busting to poop in the morning and they come out and they can't, they end up pooping on the front of the hive. And it just looks a mess, but it's nothing to do with nosema. We get similar when we make splits in the spring and summer, and you get very cold nights as well. And it's exactly the same thing, nothing major. But the result of this is we now have a very big colony. And this has got room to grow inside because all these frames aren't drawn out there and there, okay? If you also want to harvest another queen from another double mini plus, you can put this on top here. So I could easily have another 2 on top of it, or another 4 on top. And what that also means is when I want to harvest, when I want to take this away, when our next flow is about to start, I can shake loads of bees from here into this box and take it away to one of my apiaries where it's going to give me honey. So I've got an instantly strong colony because this was a small queen that was overwintered, but now I've given her the resources she needs. I apologize there. But all these splits here I've done, they're all going to get queens. Not all in this way. I do a few like this to give me strong hives if I need them. I can use this for cell building easily. I just add 10 frames of brood, shake out the bees from the other one, then take the bottom box away, and I've got a hopelessly queenless setup. It's so easy to do things when you've got your materials there on site, you know. Looking at that now, I'm just going to move that over a little bit, get that centralised. That might. I also am going to put a body of a super on. Here we go. This goes over the top. And what this does is it presses down on that cardboard to keep it all in the right place. And even if I can then put a roof on top of this, a big hive roof if I want to. But this is only temporary. I know the weather's going to be good, so we'll put this back on. Put that little bit of pollen sub back on. They might finish it up. Put the roof on, and we're done. So instantly, we've given that split that I had to transfer into a big hive, we've given it a queen. Instantly, it's still one and can all be used. The same resources are all there. I'm just trying to show you what you can do and how I do things because it gives me flexibility in the way I raise queens. It gives me flexibility when I'm ready to harvest these, to take them out to give me honey for the year. But it covers me, and I know now that even if they keep growing, I've got about 3 weeks of big flow running now to come, so they'll fill all that probably with honey, or they'll fill it with bees and brood. The honey will probably go on top because as I harvest more mini nukes, I'm going to probably put 2 more on top of this after to use up those mini nukes, to take the queen out of that box and then put the queen somewhere else, and you bunch up the other ones. It's just a method of doing things, you know. It's not difficult. It's just logic. One last thing I do is I'm going to move this box slightly over to exactly the place where the mini plus was and where the nuke was, but I can't do the two, so you put it in the middle and the bees immediately go to the middle. It's not an issue. The whole lot all combined, the foraging bees join. There's not many foraging bees from the nuke because I chose a colony that had lots of nurse bees when I did the split, and they're not really advanced to forager bees yet, but they're making their way. You see they're going there and they're going here now. They're doing the two, so they'll unite and be the one. It's just straightforward beekeeping raw. These are really strong nukes I've made. I've had to take out the partition, and there's the queen under there, the green dot queen from last year. There she is. So now she'll go in this for 5 days. Look at this, where they've been backfilling with nectar. There's just no room in these colonies, so I've had to take out all the partitions. In this one goes, full of bees, overflowing with bees. Basically, that's an instant colony when I release her from the cage. You can see the amount of bees that are here. It's just unreal. Everything else is done. It's all looking good. Just going around where I need a queen, I find one, I harvest one, I pull the resources from where that queen came from and put it on top of another one, and they all become one box. So it's a really good way of using your overwintered queens to the best advantage. It's a resource I've got to use. In other words, I don't mean I've got to use it. It's a resource I've got of my disponibility. You know, I can do what I want with it. Anyway, I better get these finished. Get these on. I've got to be out in the apiaries tomorrow. I've got grass to cut. I've got so much to do. Have a good day. Hope you're enjoying it. It's awesome to be working these bees, but it's also instantly back out the fire into the frying pan. Bye for now.